Sweet.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MulletCast, the podcast where business and pleasure collide. My name is Evan Balmer.
What's going on, Evan?
Mike, good morning. It's nice to see you
How
on
are
a
you?
Saturday.
Absolutely.
A little change of pace. Today we are joined by, we got a couple comedians in the house. We got Dave Lester.
Oh, hi.
Follow Dave on Instagram at DaveLester74 and find him on Facebook at facebook.com/laugh.provocateur. Comedian John Moses. Find him on Instagram at comedian John Moses. And he also dabbles in a little home inspection activities. You can find him at High Point Home Inspection.
A little dabbling.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey,
What's up?
Yeah.
feel good. I washed
I'm
my
very,
hands.
very pumped for this special episode, this special Saturday morning episode of the MulletCast.
I am as well. And I appreciate...
For me, this is a big moment because this is the streams colliding. This is both worlds colliding. This is my comedy life colliding with my real estate professional life.
This is awesome.
And it's like coming together
It's
to
a good
form
mix.
Are you
this
not?
thing.
Are you not terrified?
No, I'm pumped.
So, I mean,
I've been a little terrified. Like, there's been moments where I've been like, I don't want the comedy people to know that I've given up and I'm doing real estate. I don't want the real estate people to know about my comedy because if they Google John Moses,
You're still
I'm in
cheating
trouble.
with us. You're still cheating with us.
That's right. On all my business cards, it's Jonathan Moses, so if they Google it, it's clean. You know.
that's right. And he's got different, like, some fake numbers and stuff like that.
Google phone, baby.
That's pretty awesome. All right, Dave, you're a stand-up comedian from Queens.
Yes, sir.
You are an LIU grad. You did not major in stand-up comedy, though.
Did not.
So how'd you get started in comedy?
Wait a second. What's an LIU grad?
Yeah, he went to school. He was an
Long Island
education
University?
major. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I didn't tell you I graduated.
You attended...
I
An
went there.
LIU alumni.
Yeah.
I can go inside of there, but I didn't.
I'm the same with York University.
Oh, so you decided to keep your student ID so you still get some discounts.
I go play gym. I play intramurals with the children. No, but I like I said, I went to school for education, but I picked up stand up while I was working in corporate, and then I just was like, I'm making way more money than people who graduate here do. So what am I doing? This was in my 20s,
Right.
And then I got married, and things got dark, and then
Zero
now
dark 30.
I'm 15 years in
Right.
of everything now, and I'm a late bloomer trying to get my real start. At
Wait a
adulthood.
second. 15 years into what?
Into removed from marriage.
Oh,
Basically.
okay,
yeah,
right.
from marriage,
Oh.
and essentially from stand up.
So how did...
I've been in stand up now
Longer than
over
15
15 years.
years.
Yeah, but
Wow.
but working.
I know your age.
Yeah, I know who you really are.
I'm doing the math, buddy. I got out of college, did some
Sounds
stand
like-
up. I've been doing it for 15 years
You're
now.
like,
Whoa.
You're like 15 years since what?
Well, from marriage, from starting over.
Right.
So when you said it got dark, what happened?
You know, I didn't have a direction when I got married. I had money. I made some money in corporate for a few years
Right.
in my 20s, and I thought all you needed was money and a wife to make it.
Right.
Imagine this is our journey to get Mike to quit doing mortgages.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't have a plan.
Fuck this shit. Yeah.
This is a different podcast.
Yeah, you can go on and unplug me. I had money and I didn't have a plan, and it really turned to mess. It turned to mush real quick because when you don't have a plan, you get with somebody, they're gonna come up with a plan, and you're not gonna like it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So,
Gotcha.
and then even in my career, there was no real approach. There was no real. There was no structure. You know? I didn't have a set, quote unquote.
Right. Still don't. We talk about that. We're gonna tune you up.
So
No.
what did you? So how did you? What was? When do you first dabble in comedy? Then
Well, wait a second, because you said something that is important to a lot of comics. Because it used to be, it's like, oh, you don't have to worry about a plan. You just get real funny, and then
That's not-
cream rises to the top,
No,
right? And
yeah,
now
we used to say that. We used to say that. I remember that stupid
Exactly.
conversation a couple years ago.
But now it's like, these people are much more deliberate. They're like, okay, I have to be an Instagram influencer. Let me attach myself to these people. Let me,
Yeah.
work these relationships.
Work these relationships.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
Yeah. And some of that's the right approach,
Yeah,
But
if you're not-
then also like working on a clean 5, I never thought to do that. I was like, yeah, they'll find me.
that's like my favorite thing. Is I was doing some poking around, looking at your websites and streams and stuff, and I found this thing. It's like, hire me, and your quote was, "I generally work clean," and like every clip I've pulled up, like within 10 seconds, you were dropping like, it's like MF this, well, you know,
It's probably old stuff.
I generally work clean, you know.
I just like to throw. I like to throw curves.
That's, you got to keep them.
This is
guessing,
clean
right?
where I'm from.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, sober, motherfucker. I'm not on heroin.
Well, this is my church set. And but yeah, it's gotten to the point where you come up with a plan because you realize that no matter how good you get, you need a plan. You
Right.
need to be able to get in, and people are getting in, and I want to get in, and I don't want to just get in. I want to try to do something useful. So
Well, also, we're at an age now where we got to do it ourselves. The industry is not trying to do any makeovers. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
They see a young kid, they've got boxes they need to tick, and I don't want to dwell on that, but they got boxes they need to tick. You know,
Right.
it's got to be, multiracial and all this stuff.
you got to be at least 2 or 3 things. You got to be 2.5 things now to
Right.
be relevant as a male in stand up right now. I'm not talking about the ladies because they have a whole nother race now. But
Right.
What are those? The 2 things.
The 2 things are you got to be something and something else.
Right.
You got to
Like
be.
if Dave,
You want to be black? I got to be gay. Or I
Okay.
got to be quirky. Or I
if
gotta
Dave
be,
was gay with cerebral palsy, the sky's the limit.
honey,
Netflix special.
honey,
Yeah.
honey.
Right. And 22. And 22.
Oh, I also have to
because
have
you guys
a
have time to
six-pack.
invest in you.
Yeah,
You know?
I have to have a 6-pack, and I got to be malleable and be willing to do anything.
Right.
So, those things aren't happening with me. You know what you're getting. You're getting a guy that's been there and been back. And
Do you think you're closer to being gay or having a 6-pack?
I'm giving up sugar? Let's just put it like that. So either way, I'm giving up sugar. So I'm definitely closer to getting a DV back. But
So how do you get started then? Do you just pop up on an open mic night? You're like, I'm done with corporate. I've seen the light. I'm getting out of this bad marriage, and now I'm going to do stand up. Or how does it happen?
there were signs that this was just felt right. And you ignore stuff, and then you bomb for about 5 years, and then the one person says something to you is like, hey, don't stop. You got something. Don't stop. Mm-hmm. And then you sorry. And then,
Sorry, let me just...
that was a bill collector. Like literally. It's the same guy. I know the guy. I know him by name.
Come on, man. Saturdays, we made an arrangement, Dwayne.
You said Friday. No, so the long and short of it.
You were supposed to call me back with the check number.
Yeah, I was supposed to give him a pay by, It's my fault. I accept that.
That's great.
But yeah, so now we're here. I'm writing really important stuff. I'm having conversations with people on stage. I'm not even writing jokes. I'm really just trying to have conversations about stuff that I find is important, and I think the other people are thinking about.
Right.
And it's changed my approach. Now, if I can get something else going to help me get in the door,
Right.
short of me wearing a dress, I'm in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys meet?
Just doing comedy, man.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn. Dave is always running good shows in Brooklyn. And
John's a good comic.
Yeah.
So that was easy.
yeah, and
So you
I'm initiated.
You popped it on one of his shows. Is
Yeah,
that kinda
yeah,
started?
and then I probably is the baseball game. I've been playing his baseball game, his Sunday baseball game for 8 years.
And
Probably that
softball.
baseball game.
What's the baseball game?
It's an annual comics softball barbecue
Right.
over in Prospect Park. We do
Hackers
every
and
year.
humors.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And how'd that
4
get
to
started?
6 teams
Right.
of 15, and then there's a bunch of other people who just come to watch.
Right.
And it's like
It's comics being human in the sun, which is two things you don't associate with
Right.
comedians. And
Yeah.
so it's like, this is a thing. This is,
I'm still scarred from the sunburn I got last
Right.
summer. It was like a 6-month sunburn.
well, it's because he dresses in a diaper and a captain's hat, and that's it. Some beads.
He's not far off.
He's out there.
But it's 4 to 6 teams, and then he's probably got another 40 people hanging out watching, and somehow he manages to feed them all.
Right. So you
And,
put this together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gig.
yeah.
It's
Nice,
a
nice.
great time. It's
Right.
a really great time. So probably there is when we really first started getting to know each other and
Connected,
hanging
yeah.
out. And if Dave wasn't funny, we wouldn't be here having
Yeah,
this
I don't
conversation.
hang out with non-funny people.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
He talks about topics that not everybody is that not everybody else is talking about. I mean, I showed you the clip with that I like with the alkaline water.
I love that. I was buying a coffee the other day. My office is above a coffee shop at this place called High Voltage Cafe, and I'm telling the dude, we're laughing, and he's looking at me, doesn't know what I'm laughing at, and because he's telling John like, oh, if you don't want dairy products, I got like soy milk and all this other stuff, almond milk over here.
Yeah.
And I start dying laughing, and he's looking at me like, what's so funny? I'm like, oh man, I just saw this guy who's talking about you don't see people that eat and drink healthy things doing, like you wouldn't see a guy drinking soy milk and then turn around and slapping a lady and stuff.
I like how he's just slapping a lady.
Yeah, I cleaned it up for you.
Lay hands.
There are no children listening to this podcast.
Lay hands.
That's essentially it. I believe there's a correlation between eating healthy.
But the visual of like just pouring alkaline water down a stripper's back.
It's a Chappelle Show level skit idea, right?
It
So
is true.
he's got things that he talks about that's funny. I always thought Dave was a funny guy, but also Dave is a man of character. There's a lot of scumbags in comedy just trying to get over on people.
Yeah.
And like Dave's constantly trying to help people out, put people on, and he's got a huge, enormous family. But anyway, so that's it.
That's why we're here.
He has no self-control and does not like money. And we're trying to get him to embrace the white ways.
Yes, there is information that is held on by a few, or that not enough people know about. That is life changing,
And that's why we're here.
That is what we're going to get into today.
So all right. So you're working on putting together material too. You're recording a album.
Yes.
In June, right? At
Absolutely.
West Side Comedy Club. Mm-hmm. What's that process like for you? How long is it like building up that perfect hour set?
Well, you know what? First of all, this is like my third time trying to do this, and there were different reasons that held me back before, mostly me. Right. One was lack of preparation, which has been a kind of a theme with me in stand-up. And John, he'll kick me in the ass about it, but just making. And he's a very surgical guy,
right?
And I've watched his process. He's very, he's very meticulous with his stuff, and it really pushes you. And it's good to have a friend and go, yo, just be true to this, man. If you say you're gonna do it, then do it. Mm-hmm. And
then also, like, tighten this part up.
Yeah,
do that.
Right.
I trust him, and I trust what he sees. Because when we're sitting at 12 o'clock, someone sees something at 6 or 3 o'clock. It's a different angle, and you gotta have people you trust in your circle. You don't get great by yourself. You get great with the people you surround yourself with. Right. So when I came into that realization, I'm on the phone with him every other day now.
Right.
And I want to help with this album as much as I can, just as far as like contributing that type of information. We're going to sit down, sort of go over some things, and watch a little game tape.
Right.
Word.
That's cool.
So I'm excited about that. I never had support in stand-up with my own process.
Right.
Because comics are generally self-involved people anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're the only ones up on the stage. So you're generally,
You think
98% of the time you're by yourself writing something.
And that's a problem. Because that's not how things grow.
And we're surrounded by smart, funny people who have great insights, and we don't reach out enough and use that. But the greats do. Chris Rock. You don't think he's got 5 people weighing in on his album?
Yeah.
Kevin Hart brings a crew of people around with them, and they sit in the crowd and take notes.
Right.
And they're doing the exact same thing we're talking about. Oh man, this would be a funny line right here. Don't do that line. It hasn't been working for the last 3 shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and do you think you get gun shy? Like you want to withhold? Like I don't want to tell people my material because they might steal it. Like I got to.
Not with my guys. Not with John. John he's dynamic. He's got his own stuff. He's got his own voice.
Right.
We're not the same people.
No, I mean comics in general. You think that's why
Facebook and
you don't
Twitter?
talk to
I
people.
definitely feel that. I'm like, I'm not even going to put this out because this is a direction that
I have
somebody
to
can
learn.
take the whole direction.
What do you
I'm
mean?
the other way. I'm super transparent. I have to actually dial it back.
Right.
Because I feel like, well, it's my suit, and if he wants to wear it, he can't wear it like me. But really, I got to be mindful of that.
So you're saying like not posting funny shit on
I mean,
on
yeah.
Twitter? Yeah.
Because there's, and like if it's an easy line, then you're like, okay, have at it because somebody else has
Someone's
probably
gonna figure
posted
that
it
out,
anyway,
too. Yeah.
right? But if it's like a direction. You're like, ooh, this is
a
like you get a
tone.
couple of layers deeper. You're like, oh, that's a direction I don't want to take because somebody could take the direction and run with it and really punch it up, and then it's not even really similar. And how could you ever prove it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it hurts.
So-
It hurts. It's like seeing
hell
somebody walk away with your girl.
That's right.
If you see a comic who's more successful than you doing a bit on something that you abandoned, you're like, God damn it, why didn't I stick it out?
That's happened literally dozens of times. Anywhere from Patrice to Rock. I'm talking about from Chappelle. I've had concepts that those guys do you on TV. I'm just like, well, at least I know I'm in the ballpark. I
Right,
know
you're in the
Yeah.
right spot.
Right.
I'm in the right place.
Right.
But it still hurts.
Yeah.
Still
I
sucks.
saw you say something that abandoning old jokes is like giving up on your kids almost.
And then seeing somebody else raise them and the kids do well. You go to private school now? That's nice.
And I saw you on Twitter. You brought the worlds of Harvey Weinstein and the new college admission scandal together. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh no.
So what was that exactly?
Oh yeah. So that tweet was, if I had to blow Harvey Weinstein in order to get into the films, you're goddamn right. I'm gonna take my movie money and make sure my kids go to a good college so they don't have to blow a Harvey Weinstein.
That's called an intersection, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, I don't know what Lori McLaughlin had to go through to get on, or whatever her name is. I don't know what she had to go through to get on Full House
Right.
20 years ago. But
This is where it pays off.
yeah, exactly. You want better for your kids. It's all about wanting better for your kids.
That's fair.
That's pretty funny, man.
Right.
So how big of a place is West Side Comedy Club when you're going to record?
It holds 110,
Right.
110 people at 2 shows, and people are really responding to this project. I got a great sound sister to come help
Great,
me out,
great,
and then
great.
I got my guy here, DG.
Next to the material, a sound quality is
Yeah, I mean, and again,
So
he's already recorded 2 albums.
Right.
So this is the guy. This is the guy I'm listening to. This is the guy I'm taking notes from. And I reached out to 800 Pound Gorilla and
Nice.
these people, and I'm still deciding on if I want to self distribute or if I want
the answer to that is no, but you
Oh,
don't.
thank you.
No, you don't, because but we'll get into that conversation privately. You want a record company to walk it into the door to one of these to
think you said
Sirius
that.
XM, but we can talk about that.
'cause I
100%
can
of
listen to
nothing is nothing.
I can listen to you on my Spotify while I'm cleaning my apartment, which
Right.
says a lot to me. I can pull them up on Spotify,
And the record
Yeah.
company takes care of that.
and
So
it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
you know,
So that's cool.
you self promote the second, the third, the fourth one out when you've already got all the contacts.
Bomb.
You know. Anyway.
So how can people get tickets to that?
Oh, they can go to westsidecomedyclub.com
All right.
and go get them directly. And there's 2 different shows, and I have a fantastic host
Yeah.
and opener, and
Yeah, great host and opener.
Who's
that
that?
is a true mark of somebody who's not afraid to go in there. You know, a lot of guys, great comics. Some of the best comics have real soft openers for them because
Right.
it makes them look good.
Right.
But Dave's got some firepower right up front,
Yeah,
so
he got a
he's
great-
not afraid to follow it.
one of the game's best hosts, Jamie Roberts, who's hosted a great Sunday night show for 10 years in New York. It is a staple of the New York City comedy community.
Is it?
Everybody knows about that show. It just ended, but his name has some weight, and
He's a good host.
he's a tight host. And then I got Kerry Cadet, one of the most explosively funny, emergent stand-ups, who's already done
She's done a ton of shit.
ton of stuff already, and she is uncompromisingly funny. From Brooklyn, I had to get my team together,
Yeah,
and then it set me up hopefully for the alley-oop.
Nice.
Nice.
And then any particular themes you're concentrating on for that show?
Yeah, conversations that people aren't having that need to be having. A lot of stuff about relationships and settling.
Right.
When you're mediocre and then you settle for a mediocre person and you want to blame the other mediocre person, live the life you want. You'll draw the person you want to, And I'm experiencing that right now.
Right.
I'm divorced. And I think there are a lot of people around here who are unhappy, and they're making it about everybody else, but they're wrong. They're not owning it.
Right. So you out
Wow.
there dating right now?
No, I got a lady. I got a lady that I'm with, and we're seeing how this is the second year, and this is the can we be partners year.
Right.
You make a decision if you can be partners, because I'm 45. I'm not out here dating for sport. Can you?
You do look good for 45.
I was explaining to Mike that you have a method out there. You were talking about winter dating, and you got to seasonal, right? You got to do some pre-screening
You
as
gotta
you're heading
screen
into
'em.
it.
Yeah, you definitely got to start screening around late August, taking applications, and doing the research, asking the questions.
Right.
Any mental illness in your family?
Damn right.
Did you bite? Did you?
My
did you
wife
wet
wished she asked that ahead of
Did
time.
you wet the bed? How long before you start wetting the bed? I want to know these things.
Do you went to bed when you drink? Well, question. I think that segues nicely into why we're here today. The conversations that people aren't having that they need to, which could be life changing. Because the reason why we're here today is Dave is currently living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Harlem, and it does not, and he's overpaying. I mean, he's actually getting a deal as far as Harlem's concerned, but he's overpaying as far as the rest of the country is concerned.
Spiritually speaking, I'm not good about the money I'm paying for.
And that 1-bedroom apartment is not filling his needs.
Right.
You know, Dave's got kids that he's got to see on the weekend. You know, in a 1-bedroom apartment, they're like he's got to put them in one sleeping in the bathtub.
Yeah.
One sleeping in the
In
cutlery
a drawer, like a story in an almost classical mode. Remember that story that kids?
That's right.
It's like what's the kid's name from Willy Wonka? It's like that situation.
Yeah,
Charlie Bucket.
it feels like a.
So that makes you Grandpa Bucket, huh?
Yeah, so we don't want the kids around my coasters in the living room, so we need to have a place for them to be.
Right.
So here's the situation in comedy,
Right.
and I think this speaks to a lot of people. It's very top heavy. Like the guys whose name you already know
Right.
are rich,
They're good.
but the people who are opening for those people are not.
Right.
They are struggling.
Gig to gig.
And everybody's still betting on that next thing. It's like, okay, if this next idea pops, then I'm going to be good at this podcast. Maybe I can go viral.
Right.
But nobody's got a plan, a financial plan. And once
like-
you start hitting 40, it becomes painfully obvious of that situation that the window's closing. But
You ever
it's
see
like,
that the action movie when the door's going down, everybody's getting through, and it's like
but
get through there.
But when you're 40 something in stand up, that door's like a mile away, and you're
Right.
just like, oh, we're never gonna make it, dude. So what do you want to do now? Breathe in the toxins.
Yeah.
You got to keep
Take a
you got to
deep
keep
breath.
saying Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield.
Ronnie Dangerfield is a goddamn. That story gives so many people false hope.
As does
really
Bernie
does.
Mac and all these older guys that made it.
Dude, New York City is filled with people who have already passed that prime that should have quit. If they would have quit 20 years ago, they would have lived such a good life.
They could have rebounded. You could have made it.
Right.
Other
So,
way.
but the question is, Dave, he's putting his first album out, long overdue. He's 45. He's not going to quit doing this. He's good at it. He's funny.
That Bill dude found out where he was. He just knocked.
Just knocked on the door right now.
Slip
the bell right through there.
You sharp. Got me. That's fair.
you're Dave's 45. He's not going to quit.
Right.
But we both of us, we've got
need something else.
we've got no financial security.
Right.
There's no retirement plan. The industry's already fed up with it. They're already like, we've seen what you've done. We're not interested.
Right.
So we just got to keep going.
Or we haven't.
know?
We don't even know you're there.
Yeah. Or we don't even know you're there.
Yeah. Which is why I think I'm inclined, which is why I'm still doing it, to believe that they haven't really taken a good look at us.
Right.
Because I think John. I'm not here. I don't blow smoke. I told John, you're funnier than my racism, so that's why we're friends. So he knows that I don't have to blow smoke up his ass. You're a better man
Right.
than my racism.
Yeah.
You've beaten my racism. So,
And I've had.
and he's trying. He's taking good swings at it.
Oh yeah, publicly.
So I say that to say that I don't believe in just anybody. I really think that if people listen to what he does,
Right.
And he would be on.
Yeah.
He would
Yeah.
be on and with options.
Right.
And I feel the same way about myself.
Well, I've had some opportunities, and I've blown those shots. I've had wide open threes where all I had to do was make the shot, and I've blown it, and that's fine. But we're sitting here. We're both of the same age. I'm almost 40, but it's like, what are we going to do now?
Right.
John
and
is spiritually 40.
and I'm feeling. Yeah, I've always, I've always been much older than my age, especially in my face.
So let me ask you, Dave. Like you, I mean, I can tell you respect John's opinion, and you're taking his advice about putting the album together and all that stuff. But what was your reaction when he started talking to you about real estate? You're like, why am I listening to this dude about real estate?
Well, it's funny. John's the family man. I have a family, and I'm like, I said, well, he prefaced it with specific conversations about what he was doing with the building inspection work,
Right.
And he laid out factual stuff he just laid out stuff that made sense to me about the idea of investing early in places that are underdeveloped,
Right.
And then he came up, and then he outlined a plan that he had, and it's like, oh, he's not just shooting nonsense. He ran some numbers. He's doing research. I'm a scientific guy. I'm a logical guy. I'm listening. And I asked questions. He was able to answer every question I had. I was like, all right.
So let me tell you guys quickly the conversation I had with Dave, for the most part, in my car outside of his apartment in Harlem.
Right.
Double parked, by the way, because there's no parking over there. Ever.
Parked on the fire hydrant.
So Dave's paying $1,500 for a 1-bedroom in Harlem. And is that a deal? I don't know.
It is a little bit below market out
A
there.
little bit of below market.
Right.
Now, I was telling Dave, and it's a 1-bedroom, and, like I said, he's got kids.
Right.
I was showing him that there was a listing in Newark, and I wasn't very familiar with the areas at the time, and I'm still learning them. But it was $50,000
Right.
for a single family. We're talking $50,000. I guessed it needed 60 worth of work. Now, if you did that, the cost to borrow that 110. Let's just call it 10
Right.
to simplify things. So we're into it for 120. I thought it would be worth about 150 after that work. If he refinanced and pulled out the 20%, he'd be paying a mortgage on the 120, which is about 900. So he's $600 less than what he was paying.
Right.
He's got a house with $30,000 worth of equity. He's got 3 bedrooms and a yard. And because it's Newark, it's still commutable to New York City. It was probably like a 50-minute commute on a good day. Right. Sunday might take you a little longer.
Right.
Right. And he saw those numbers and he was like,
What do I gotta
okay, I'm
do?
listening. What do I got to do?
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so I said, well, this is what you got to do. You got to come on MulletCast. Mike's going to run you.
That's usually where these
Like a
streams
big
start.
ass
Come out
laptop,
to
yeah,
Jersey. You gotta get up really early. Come out to Jersey. And we'll see.
You get the hell out of here, John, man.
Step one.
I'm going back to my place. You drive your double parked car out of here, man.
So, and I said, let's figure it out because we knew his credit was shot.
Right.
He was at a job. He was 3 months into a job. I was like, right now we're probably 18 months away from moving into something, but let's get it started.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
get it started and figure it out.
That's cool.
And then I was having this conversation with an investor who lives in Newark, and I was outlining the single family plan, and he was like, well, let me show you something. And I said, all right. He goes, and then he showed me a 3-family home, and
Right.
based on the rents of that 3-family home, and this was a much more, you were getting a lot more house. He was saying he could be living in this 3-family home, renting 2 units out, and based on 40 or 50 grand, he could be living basically. The rents would be paying for the mortgage.
Right.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. The look he had in his eyes when I gave him the numbers and he was like, holy shit, was the look I had when he gave me those numbers. I
Right.
was so excited to come here and have Mike run his numbers and
Right.
be like, let's get the fucking plan together.
Right, right.
You
Yeah.
know?
So
That's a great strategy.
that's killer.
Well, we've spoken about it before.
Right.
That, buying a multifamily first was something I wish I did.
Yeah.
Rent out the other 2, live in one. I live in a small condo now.
Yeah, I mean, I have some clients that are like they're in their mid 20s, right? Married, couple kids. They're now on their. I've done 3 2-family houses with them, right? They started out in one, lived in it, got it going for a while, took some
Yep.
equity from that, moved into another one, another 2-family,
Right.
Right, kept the first one. Now they got 2 rental units,
Right.
Then they pieced out of the second one, went into a third one. Now they got 2 rental units with 4 tenants, paying them money. They're living in their third 2. I mean, it's genius.
And if
man.
you look at rent prices right
Right.
now,
Totally.
they just keep going up.
Right.
Right. And interest rates are stagnant.
Yep.
So
This is the time.
so you're right now is the time. So your rent's gonna pay and you're gonna make a profit out of it.
Right.
So, and I feel like this is such a big conversation because there's a lot of. We're going to talk about first of all that rental strategy.
Right.
We can talk about Newark, what's happening in Newark right now. But if I'm completely wrong and it stays flat or even takes a little bit of a dip,
Right.
as long as the rents are covering the mortgage, who cares? You're
Right.
in this for the long haul. It's still going to get paid down. You're still going to have an asset at the end of 25 years that's going to be paid for. Is it going to be worth 300? Or 900, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's better than nothing. You're going to be living rent free the whole time.
Right.
And if this thing appreciates over the next 3 or 4 years, then you could have 40, 50, 60 grand to go and invest in something else
Yeah.
if you're starting to feel comfortable as a landlord.
Right.
You start using it as a
Right.
investment plan for the future.
Yeah,
Really,
and-
it is. There's your retirement plan.
And using other people's money is always a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Dude,
Make it work for it. Yeah.
All right. So what I want to do is just to, because we've been doing this on Facebook Live, so
Yeah.
we're gonna just do a quick recap. Piece out of Facebook Live here in a
Good.
minute, and then we'll keep going with the rest of the stuff. But for the people on Facebook Live, what I want to say is check out Dave Lester on Instagram at DaveLester74. Get ready for the West Side Comedy Club live recording in June. Go to westsidecomedyclub.com and get your tickets now because that sounds like a good event. Check out John Moses at Comedian John Moses on Instagram.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to work with mortgage guy Mike over here.
Yep.
We're going to dig in a little deeper to Dave's story. We're going to look at some properties in Newark. We're not going to give those addresses right now. We're going to keep them on the down low because I think you guys are going to go out and check it out
First.
But then also we're telling a bigger story here. I mean, you guys are helping other people. John's
the
helping
idea.
Dave, and we're going to help some other comics. So keep an eye out for more of this type of footage is going to be rolling out as we go on and tell this story. All
Jackie
right, so
Robinson.
we're going to get out of Facebook.
If he moved to an all-black neighborhood.
All right, so we're off of Facebook Live. All right.